It's the one thing nobody talks about in speaking.
When I'm training speakers, I tell them the best speakers are the best listeners.
You are speaking in front of people, you just feel very naked, right? You feel like very uncomfortable. You're so afraid of being judged. So how do you overcome that?
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn how to become a better speaker. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Know your finish with Ed Milet.
I'll give one tip to everybody. No one will tell you when it comes to speaking, okay? Write the finish first. Write what you're going to say last first. We've all watched that person speak who can't stop. They gave everyone writes, I better know what I'm going to say first because I'm scared of that part. That's when I walk out and, whoo, hello, I'm here. So they know what they're going to say first when they're on a stage or on Instagram, the beginning of the video. You kind of know the middle because it's the point you're going to make. What you don't know is how to finish. That's when your video goes over the 1 minute line. That's when you're speaking on stage, you're like, you've said your thing, but you're trying to end on a high. You never wrote the finish. So I always start with the last 1 minute of my speech or the last 10 seconds of my Instagram video. That's my out every single time. If you watch a comic, the funniest joke doesn't always have to be the last one, but they always know what the last one is before they walk out on the stage first. Same with when you speak. It's the one thing nobody talks about in speaking. I always know how I'm going to finish because it's my out. Even in our interview today, we're watching the time, right? At some point, you got to know what the last question is. That's the end of a good interview. It's the end of a good speech. It's the end of a good Instagram video. So always write the finish first.
Number 2, be a good listener with Les Brown.
You have a lot of quotes. Do you advise to have a lot of quotes to grow?
You know what? I just went downstairs to the hotel and asked them, what is my room number? I don't know where these quotes come from. I study a lot. When I first started out, I disciplined myself to learn about 3 quotes a day. Somebody taped me one time. I gave a lecture at a Manpower conference with Bishop T.D. Jakes, and they said I did over 215 quotes, and I never repeated myself. So I love quotes. It's a passion of mine, and so they come up when they come up at the appropriate time.
And you have your own quote?
I have my own, and I study a lot of other individuals. And once I hear it, I repeat it to myself and reuse it in conversation. When I'm training speakers, I tell them the best speakers are the best listeners, to listen to things that touch your heart, and then use it in conversation over and over again, and then use it on stage when you're speaking to an audience.
Yeah, not only you and your thought, but also the people who are...
Everybody that's around you.
Great. And do you advise to people to write their own quote?
I think that yes, you want to write, but sometimes you are saying them and you can't hear them because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And so when I tell people, if you're speaking, to always record yourself, because there are things that's going to come up, inspiration, revelations you will receive. You say, whoa, where did that
it was
come
great.
from? That's right, yes. And so you want to record that.
Also, if you want to learn how to build confidence like Jordan Peterson and others, check out my 254 Confidence series. It's free. The link is in the description below.
If you're going to speak effectively, you have to know way more than you're talking about.
After you practice martial art, you develop this natural self-confidence. Not cockiness, but you develop this natural self-confidence.
It's necessary that you hook up with some other energy that can take you to the next level. I hooked up with them. They said, let's go. I said, away we go.
Number 3, have a powerful opinion with me.
Have a powerful opinion. You have an opinion. What is it that you are trying to say? Make it mean something to yourself and to me, and make that the first sentence of every piece of content that you make. If you're doing a video, that's your first sentence. You're doing an Instagram post, put it in there. You're doing a LinkedIn post, an email, a newsletter, put it in there. You lead with your powerful opinion on what is wrong with the world or what your viewpoint on XYZ topic is. Make it mean something to me, make me care. So if I'm talking about communication and how important it is for entrepreneurs, a powerful opinion would be something like, you need to learn how to communicate in your business, or you will never get that idea that's in your head out into the world, and your idea will die inside you. That's an opinion. Where lots of people might say something like, so If you want to learn how to build a successful business and maybe take your idea to the next level, I think maybe you should focus on trying to improve how you speak and communicate. Like, it's so long, it has lots of filler words, you use words like maybe and potentially and someday and one day and I wish and we instead of I, like affirmative. Stop worrying about what people's reactions are gonna be and speak your truth. Always lead with a powerful opinion.
Number 4, take risks with Jordan Peterson.
If you're going to speak about something, you need to know a lot about it. You need to know 3 or 4 times as much as you're going to speak about at minimum. So first of all, you have to do your background research. You have to have multiple stories at hand that you can use to illustrate your point. And you have to have a point. You have to organize what you're talking about around a problem. So before I go on stage to speak on my tour, I always sit for half an hour, some of which involves usually about 5 minutes of anxiety. And I think, okay, there's a problem I'm trying to address tonight, a central problem or a theme. What is it? It might be courage, it might be responsibility, it might be meaning. I think, and that serves as an organizing principle. So that would be the point. And then basically I organize, say, a dozen stories around that, and I can kind of arrange them in it as a journey, and it's a journey that circles the main point. And so I'm trying to explore it, to say what I think about courage, let's say, but to take what I'm thinking farther than I've taken it already. And so then I can plot out, little 5-minute stories that I have that are associated with courage, and then I can talk to the audience. And I would say, talk about what you know. Use your personal experience, because that's something that you're actually a master of. You can bring in other material, but it has to be tied to the real world through your own experience. Otherwise, it's not real. It's also very good to speak directly to the audience, to the individuals in the audience, because I'm always looking at a single person, one after another, and focusing on them and talking to them just like you'd have a conversation with someone. And that way I can see if they're following along. And I'm always listening to the audience. What I really like to hear from the audience is no noise at all, silence. Because if the audience, especially, if it's a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand people, if the audience is dead silent, then I know that I'm on the right track. You're telling stories, so every fact that you relate, or every set of facts, has to be tied to a story. There has to be a meaningful output, which is something like, why is it important to your life that you know this fact? How is it related to how you're going to conduct yourself moving forward, or how you're going to see the world? So, because that's kind of the essence of meaning. How does this fact change the way you perceive the world or act in the world? That's the meaning of the fact. And facts without meaning are dull. So you need to know that. You need to tell the truth. That's for sure. And I mean, for me, my talks are really, they're an attempt to explore a set of ideas in the most truthful way that I can manage. And that's also an adventure, because letting yourself speak freely about a topic, you don't always know where it's going to go. And so, but that also hooks in the audience, because they're along for the ride, right? And there's a risk. The risk is you might forget where you are, you might lose the thread, you might say something you regret, you might get confused. And the talk should be a process of exploration, like a journey that you're taking the audience along on. It's the same when you're reading a novel. Like, a great novel isn't exactly plotted out from beginning to end to begin with. The author is taking himself or herself and you on an intellectual adventure through the character development, and the characters have to be allowed to live and to express themselves, and the novel needs to unfold. It's like a colloquy between the conscious mind and the unconscious source of inspiration, and the novel is actually a journey through a characterological landscape, and the author shouldn't know where he or she's going to end up at the beginning. Same with an artist and who's writing a song or a piece of music or a piece of visual art. There has to be play and exploration along the way. And so you also don't want to deliver an over-prepared talk, in my estimation, or at least that's not how I do it. You want to have a theme, you want to have a body of knowledge from which you can draw on, and then you want to be actively exploring the idea in front of the audience. And that's very gripping for everyone, including you. And you should learn something from the talk. It's an opportunity to think on your feet. And anyways, that's my style of lecturing. It's a trapeze act without a safety net, I would say. And that's part of what makes it gripping, is that there's a high probability of failure. And I would say with any performance that's going to be gripping, that on the edge of the seat gripping, there has to be a high probability of failure. And that's why I don't speak with notes. If you speak with notes, which you might have to if you're a beginning speaker, then you cannot fail because you can always read the notes. And so there's a net. You'll fall in the net, but you won't die. But you'll never do anything spectacular. So that's the thing, is if you're going to do something spectacular, you have to take the risk. And if you're going to take the risk, you have to think on your feet.
And rule number 5, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is over-prepare with Dan Locke.
When I just first learned about public speaking and I joined Toastmasters, I was nervous as okay? Even speaking to a group of like 10 people, I would have sweaty palms and my heart would be like I was so nervous. Have you ever felt this way where you are speaking in front of people, you just feel very naked, right? You feel like very uncomfortable. You're so afraid of being judged. So how do you overcome that? Chances are, if you are nervous speaking to a group of people, it's because of lack of practice, lack of preparation. So let's say if you know you're gonna do a presentation or speech for 15 minutes, and if all you in front of people and all you put into it is 1 hour of practice, you're gonna get nervous because you don't know if you're fully ready, or if you need to just like say at a wedding or something, or sometimes just stand up somewhere where you need to do something on the spot where it's totally unprepared. Of course you get nervous because you're like, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna say it? I'm not so sure. It's all of lack of preparation. So if you have the opportunity, if you know that you're gonna be presenting a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 weeks from now, if you over-prepare, so that 15 minutes of speech, if you spend 5 hours, 10 hours preparing, practicing in front of the mirror, record yourself, watch yourself, it's way better if you just spend an hour. So when you over-prepare, you'll know, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna say, I know exactly how I'm gonna say it, I've rehearsed many times. Guess what? Then you get less nervous. So that nervousness comes from lack of preparation.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip with Bishop T.D. Jakes on how to always respect your audience that I really think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Let's go from just watching a video to taking action in your life or business. Here we go. Number 1, what is your powerful opinion? Number 2, what risk are you willing to take on stage or camera? And number 3, what is your finish?
Footnote to preachers, speakers, singers, anybody on the stage, never adjust your performance to the crowd, because you never know who's in the crowd. You never know. Always respect your audience with your best performance. I don't care if it's 3 people, one of those people might change the trajectory of your life.
If you want to know the 5 secrets to becoming more productive, check out my video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
The 80-20 rule always applies. Only 20% of what you do contributes to 80% of results.
So rather than resist temptation,